Don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up, Adam. Everyone's counting on you.
It's already written, but don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Our first question this week comes from Ormappa, who asks, what, from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi stories we are most looking forward to? And I think it's probably easier to list the ones we're not looking forward to. There's not one that I'm not looking forward to, but we're recording this on Tuesday because we're going to be at GCX this weekend in Orlando. If you're in the area, we'll hope to see you there. But on Tuesday, they released the full list of 40 stories for, from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. So which one caught your eye first? I
mean, if you can tell by the way we're dressed, it may look like the Wicket's story is the one we're most excited for, but that just...
We didn't plan this.
That was a coincidence.
I just grabbed the first Return of the Jedi shirt that I could find.
I think the one I'm the most excited for is Anakin's story, but I was pretty excited by some of the lesser-known characters that popped up on there, like Igar, who is one of the Imperial
He's the one
guards.
That, like, he brings Luke to Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guessed that one.
I did.
That was a pretty good guess. This morning we were walking Hilo, who you can hear in the background, and I was like, all right, the announcements are about to come out, so who are we going to think? Last speculation. And you were like, it'd be cool to get a story from the people who captured Luke. And you nailed it.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. Nanta's getting a story?
That's the one that really caught my eye the most, that surprised me. And I said, oh no, when I saw it, because
I'm not mentally prepared for her story.
Neither am I.
She's the Ewok that tragically dies in one scene, and you just see the other one kind of like bent over, like really, really upset about it, and
which devastated me as a child.
Yeah, it's so sad.
So I'm like, I'm not ready to hear some inner monologue from an Ewok, or it's called the Ballad of Nanta, so they might be just singing the song of Nanta, Nanta's story. That one was a surprising choice. You know, I was expecting like Poplu to be thrown into the mix. Mm-hmm. Nanta was a good surprise. I always like when characters who were created after the movie we get to catch up on what they're doing at this point in time. And I think all the From a Certain Point of View books have done that. But Dexter Jettster is one that's getting a lot of attention. Also, we have a nice connection to that because we were friends with Adam Lance Garcia, the author. So I'm excited to read that one.
Don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up, Adam. Everyone's counting on you.
It's already written, but don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. I'm also really excited for Adam Christopher's Pride story.
Yeah.
Getting to see someone that we know is a big deal in the First Order and what happened to him during the fall of the Empire. Mm-hmm. That and the tease that they released for that one sounded really interesting.
And we have stories about Cy Snoodles and Max Rebo, beloved characters in the fandom.
Also written by friends, Kristen Baver, Phil Shostak. Anytime we get some Max Rebo band action, I'm excited and happy. And that's what I love about these books, is that they're like a celebration of Glup Shittos. But, you know, they also will work in, you already brought up the Anakin story. I think that one's going to be a big deal. Definitely not a side or background character, but Anakin as opposed to Vader in the original trilogy, we didn't get much of him at all. So I think that's going to be a really fun and interesting story to see what happened to him. We might even get some actual answers about how he became a Force ghost without like going through the training and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is not like... These books are mostly just a celebration of the movies. They're not always about answering questions like that. But I still like to see what authors have to say about it.
Yeah. There's a story for the dragon snake.
That one made me go, the dragon snake, but only because I lost a trivia competition because I called it a dragon serpent and not a dragon snake. So that one stabbed me in the heart a little bit, but
stung a little bit.
But the teaser for it did look nice.
You kind of called what we might be getting with the Palpatine story, because we could potentially get some insight on like what happened after his death.
Yeah, the Palpatine excerpt, like we got to see a couple lines from each one, and the excerpt seemed like it was while he was still alive, but it's called What Then Fall Sidious. So I assume it's going to involve his death, and we might get some answers in that regard of at least what was going on in his mind as he was about to kind of die. And he'd be like, this is fine. I'll be back. Another one you called is one of the Emperor's advisors. I'm excited about Simalu.
Simalu, yeah. I just called them Palpatine's weird little friends or creepy little friends.
His boy band. There's that behind the scenes picture of all the people in costumes just kind of like lounging around.
Yeah.
They're posing.
I am excited to hear his story and just see what's going on in his head.
I'm also excited because it's Jason Fry. I think he's going to do a really great job with that one. Jason wrote one of my favorite stories from the Empire Strikes Back version, the Wedge story. So I think that he is going to have a really good handle on that and an interesting take on the advisors, who are always this mysterious group. Of course, I'm happy about the numerous pilot stories, several of them that I was expecting one or two, but we got Wedge, Arvel Krynid, Nora Wexley, and a couple others that appear in the movie that I'm excited to see. More Wedge is always good. Nora is another character that was created well after the movie, but it'll be nice to see how she gets wrapped into the story. I feel like we could just keep talking and talking. In general, I'm really happy that there just seemed to be a good spread throughout the movie. I think the A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back books, there were a few times where like we spent a lot of time in the cantina because there's a lot of fun background characters there. And then we spent a lot of time on Hoth for kind of the same reason. There aren't that many populated areas in the middle section of Empire. Mm-hmm. But I was expecting that we would see a lot of characters from Jabba's palace.
That's what I was going to say. I wish there were a few more of Jabba's palace characters. And maybe,
I know you were hoping for Effant Mon.
Yeah. just like some of the random background characters there would have been fun to see. But again, like you said, it could have turned into the cantina where it was just one too many cantina people stories.
I would have been willing to trade a pilot for Ristal Sant for you.
What could have been?
Yeah. And I'm really glad that the last one is again going to be from the point of view of the Wills and them trying to write the crawl together. Those have always been funny. Like that's an example of the from a certain point of view story where it's like, this is not canon, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And I have loved them bickering about what should and should not go into the crawl. I already have ideas of what they might be fighting about in Return of the Jedi. Like the whole first paragraph is one sentence. Come on, like, or why
are there 4 periods?
Why did you only put 3 dots at the end of this one instead of 4 like the others?
Yeah.
But I liked the excerpt where it's like, okay, this time I'm going to lock myself away so no one can bother me. And then knock, knock, knock. Ominous knocking. But I'm excited for the book. I've always enjoyed. From a certain point of view, it takes me back to those legends like Tales from the Cantina, Tales from Jabba's Palace days, except, it's a celebration of an entire movie instead of just one place.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting a lot of the more classic central characters like Lando. Mon Mothma is one that a lot of people are excited about since we have seen and got to know her a little bit more after Andor. Akbar's is a comic.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. They've kind of dabbled in illustrations before in previous FACPOVs, but a full-on comic, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm just excited, ready for it to get here.
Michael Kennedy wants to know what kind of story we want the Lando Show to tackle.
So yeah, that's some fun news that I can't really remember if we talked about it in last week's Q&A. I don't think so because the news came out near the end of the week that the Glover brothers are going to be writing the Lando Show. First of all, it's just great to have some news on that series because we haven't for a long time. I did a video about kind of our takes on that or my thoughts on that, but I wanted you to have a chance to give your thoughts.
Well, it's not like officially confirmed by Star Wars yet, but a lot of people were reporting on it a lot of the bigger
Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline. Like I think
so
it's
pretty safe to say.
yeah.
But they're not actively working on it right now because of the strikes. So as always, hopefully they can come to an agreement so that this can actually happen, because we really want this to happen.
Right. It's exciting news, but it's in the midst of the strikes, which need to happen. And like I said last week, it's like Disney and all the other producers just need to get their poodoo together. And it sounds like they are starting to go back towards negotiations. Fingers crossed. But
just pay your writers more, pay your actors more.
Pay your writers, pay your actors.
So that Donald Glover and his brother Steven Glover can write the Lando Show.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Let's let them get to work, because Atlanta is awesome. If they can bring that kind of absurdist humor, but also, like, this is a story that has something to say, I think Lando could be really special. Like, it kind of reminds me, I said this last week, it reminds me of the Tony Gilroy situation, where they just kind of announced the Cassian show. I think someone had a decent pitch for it, but they hadn't gone far beyond that. And then Tony Gilroy was like, we can go deeper with this series, and here's what it should be about. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if that's similar to what happened with Lando, where they're like, let's announce this. We'll try to get Donald Glover back. And that's as far as they thought. But Donald Glover might come on and, like, obviously he's connected to the character. He's a very talented writer and actor and just all around person. He does everything. Mm-hmm. It's not fair. Donald, save some for the rest of us. But I think he could write something really, really special and make the Lando series, I don't know, more than just a surface level. Like, look, it's Lando and he's fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah, as far as, like, what kind of stories I want to see, I would like to see how he met L3. I don't know if L3 is going to be in this, but I kind of hope so, because I really loved that character. Getting to see how they met would be cool. Getting to see any of his relationships, to be honest, because every Pride Month, Star Wars is like, we're celebrating all of our LGBTQ plus characters, and Lando's always one of them. And if you do a Lando show and you just leave all of that out, I will be upset.
And I mean, Donald was talking about that when Solo was coming out, that he was like, yeah, it just makes sense that Lando would be the type of guy to be pansexual in the Star Wars galaxy.
So it would just be nice for that to be like officially addressed in a live action show. And, you know, we know he has a daughter at some point, so just go there, Star Wars, just go there.
And there's the whole aspect of, fans have pitched the idea that Billy D. Williams could also be in it, which I think is a great jumping off point to call it the Calrissian Chronicles and have Billy D. Williams kind of start a story.
Have it be like Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Where he's at the beginning reading a story. Yeah.
Like, you can probably get Billy D for a few days, and he just has to, like, sit and narrate, and he's talking to Jana or someone. He can narrate the story and tell it how he remembers it or wants to tell it, and then as we see it play out, it's like Lando's failing a lot more, or it doesn't quite line up. So I think there could be a lot of fun comedy with how they present those stories.
Framed Citizen asks when we started to like Ahsoka as a character.
So I didn't really have the attachment to Ahsoka as the Clone Wars were coming out. We've talked about this before, but we didn't watch the Clone Wars until after we had seen season 1 of Star Wars Rebels. I knew vague stuff about Ahsoka, but I remember during Rebels season 1, people were like, oh, Fulcrum's probably Ahsoka. And I didn't have that same level of excitement that people did. So I guess I would say I started to really like her after season 1 of Rebels, because then I went and I watched all of the Clone Wars. So I just kind of binged it from there.
I mean, yeah, we knew about the character. We didn't dislike her for any reason. We probably just didn't have much of an opinion. But I can't remember when I saw the Clone Wars movie for the first time, but I did think she was cool in that movie. I was like, oh, this is great. Someone to, like, take Anakin down a couple notches, and, like, she's snippy, hence the nickname. I just remember little bits and pieces of her from that movie that I really enjoyed.
I probably didn't like super love her in the movie, but that's just because I don't like the movie all that much. But I do remember hearing word of the Clone Wars coming out and being like, oh, Anakin had a Padawan. Okay. Think that's weird, but whatever. And then getting into the series, I accepted her. I don't remember a specific moment where I all of a sudden was like, oh, I love her. I think it was just binging through the Clone Wars and seeing her whole arc very quickly. So I guess it just has to be that summer of 2015.
God, that was forever.
When I think that's when I first watched the Clone Wars.
I do think I remember in Rebels seeing her more grown up version, and I loved that version of her, like compared to when she was younger. Something about like the outfit and her longer head tails, I was like, this character looks so good.
And I wonder if that maybe helped the snotty fan in me that would have been like, ugh, Anakin had a Padawan, and ugh, she's so annoying at the start. But like, I knew where she was going to wind up to a degree, so that probably helped me.
And when we get into season 2 of Rebels with Twilight of the Apprentice and all of that stuff, like that just like blew me away. I was like, this is so cool. Grogu's wrinkly head wants to know if we'll see any scenes from Rebels be recreated in Ahsoka.
And they do put out the caveat, like we've already seen some scenes be recreated of Sabine watching Ahsoka's starship come in, going to the mural and everything. And it should be pointed out that there have been alterations to those scenes already. So mostly just little cosmetic things like Sabine's hair, Ahsoka's, the color of her robe at that point in time. So I don't think it's going to be like a 1-for-1 recreation. I'm already not looking forward to people asking which color of robe is canon. It's like,
well, I'm still holding out some hope that we'll get her in the white robe at some point.
We will. I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it with 100% certainty, but I'm like, that's where I think Dave wants her to wind up, but he wants this to be her journey there. And when, like, we just finished watching Star Wars Rebels, so when you're watching that epilogue, I think that's Dave just saying vaguely, here's where these characters ended up without giving you the full story. So now I'm basically going to have Ahsoka the series be like, now this is the full story to get us to vaguely where they were in the epilogue.
Yeah. I am interested to see if we get any flashbacks of like Sabine and Ezra interacting. Like just something simple on the Ghost, maybe. Because right now all we know that we're going to see of him is the little hologram.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to do flashbacks or not. It's possible. I don't know that any other scenes really stick out specifically that I think they'll recreate.
It's more like I'm still wondering how they're going to communicate some basics to the people who had never seen Rebels. If we get just a montage of here's some stuff that happened and here's Ahsoka's journey between the Clone Wars and now, or even here's who Ahsoka is and like a full-on, this is her in the Clone Wars, this is her with Anakin, this is her fighting Darth Vader. Like if they just did a very quick summary. Yeah. I don't know. That would be wild if they did all that.
I think they would just show the animated stuff, like that show actual clips of the Clone Wars and Rebels, and
yeah,
I think that would be fine.
I do too. I would be totally fine if they did a recap the way Obi-Wan Kenobi had a recap, and it's like, and here's just what you need to know from the cartoons. And I think that would be great and legitimizing to Star Wars animation to just be like, hey, this is where the character came from. You guys should, if you like the series, you should go watch the Clone Wars and Rebels. So I would love it if they did that. But I would also think it'd be pretty cool if we saw that stuff in live action.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's smart on the business side of things to like show people, hey, these things already exist. So if you haven't seen them, they're on Disney Plus. Go watch them.
But yeah, I don't know if there's going to be anything directly lifted from Rebels as a big extended flashback scene or something.
And I mean, it would be crazy if they like recreated the finale just to show people like, here's where Ezra and Thrawn were the last we saw them.
Yeah, with the Purrgil and everything.
That would be nuts.
Yeah.
YHC Tower asks if we'd rather serve on the crew of the Ghost or the vessel.
This question made me laugh, and I think it's a cruel thing to ask of someone.
Well, the vessel, I had to ask him before I read the question what that was, because I had forgotten, but it's Geode's ship from the High Republic.
That's all I had to say.
Yeah.
It's the ship Geode is on in the High Republic with...
So if you haven't read the High Republic, you might not know about it, but it's also a pretty fun ship.
The ship itself, I don't really remember anything about it. So this question to me is just, do you want to hang out with the crew of the Ghost or Geode, Affy, and Leox? Which I do think would be a fun group.
Yeah.
But the Ghost is one of my favorite Star Wars ships. The way it's laid out, the way you can see its living quarters and its bunks and everything. Mm-hmm. I think that ship would be one of the more comfortable ones to live in Star Wars.
Yeah. Definitely the Ghost for me, just because we just finished yesterday. We just finished watching season 4 of Rebels, and I'm like already ready for another rewatch. So I'm just in love with the ship, the like family dynamic, not as of the finale, I guess, but you know,
there's still a family
when everybody's there, including Kanan. I would want to be there for that.
Even with that, like, it's really hard to turn down hanging out with Geode, just because I'm so curious what it would be like to interact with that character. But I think I would be more comfortable and happy long term once my curiosity was sated. I'd be happier on the Ghost.
What if we were some of the ones that like only saw him doing nothing though?
Right, and that would be the gamble, I guess.
I'd be so disappointed, and it would be my life's goal to like see him do something, and I'd probably like lose my job, lose my friends. I would just be following Geode around all the time.
That's the gamble. It's the allure of like, do you want this prize or what's in the mystery box, where you're like, it could be anything. And that's kind of how I feel about Geode. Is like, I could experience anything with him. I don't know, but I wanna.
Sarah Black wants to know if we have any predictions on the Young Jedi Adventures return.
So yeah, new episodes of this came out this past Wednesday. Like I said, this is a Tuesday we're recording this, so we haven't seen it yet, so we can just throw out some ideas. But we were discussing beforehand, like a week ago, if we could see anyone from the High Republic books or comics be in the show, and what character would be most likely. And the prediction we both landed on, I think, was Buraga. Mm-hmm. That just seems to make sense.
The most likely, and we already know that there is a children's book all about Buraga and his adventures coming out. So I feel like the animation is like almost already there.
Yeah,
they could just plop him in.
It just makes sense. Like there's the book that's being written by Charles Soule and his daughter, but Buri is also the star of like the Little Golden Books, which are adaptations of Light of the Jedi, The Rising Storm, and The Fallen Star, which are all these like kind of rough books. Like
yeah, that'd be really hard to adapt into a children's story. But...
yeah, like how did you make the Battle of Valo fun and accessible for kids? I need to read it because that's another thing I'm just curious about. I should pick it up and read it. But knowing that he's kind of the face of the High Republic for kids, I feel like he would work well in the show.
Yeah.
Just a big, fun Wookiee Jedi for all the kids to hang out with.
Mm-hmm. Flatter Newt 1036 asks what bounty hunters we hope to see in Outlaws.
I like this question a lot because we were at San Diego about a week and a half ago, and we were at the Outlaws panel, and they talked about how Jabba, for example, if you betray him enough times, he's going to send bounty hunters after you. And there are all these syndicates, and a lot of the bounty hunters have kind of connections to specific syndicates that I feel like Boba Fett is obviously with Jabba. Dengar has ties to Crimson Dawn. So I like the idea that all of the syndicates could send a very well-known bounty hunter after you eventually. Like, if you betray Jabba once, he's going to send Toro Calican after you.
Oh.
But if you betray him, like, if you betray him 5-10 times,
Yeah.
then Boba Fett shows up, and you're like, oh, gosh.
Like, first he sends the D team.
Right.
And then you upset him enough times, then he's like, all right, A team, go in.
Mm-hmm. that we could just keep on increasing who might be after us.
I mean, he's been in the comics quite a bit, but Dirge would be cool.
That'd be terrifying.
In a video game setting, I think he'd be like a perfect character to
Do
throw in
not
there.
make me fight another Gendai. Ravis almost ruined me.
Yeah, that's true. Dengar is another one that I feel like would be a good fit, just because I feel like I haven't read the Bounty Hunter comics, but I feel like he doesn't have much to do.
He's kind of the outlier right now. He's kind of left out of the fun. Because he keeps betraying everyone. He's not a great guy.
Well,
so he's kind of sided with Crimson Dawn for now, or at least he was, and now Crimson Dawn has kind of faded away again. But there are so many potentials here that I don't think every bounty hunter ever is going to be in this game. But I don't think it's impossible that we would see like the main 6 from Empire Strikes Back. Throw Cad Bane in there, Dirge. Deathstick. There are a ton of people we could see.
Deathstick is the one that's like in the wraps.
Yeah, she's a Night Sister.
Yes.
So you'll like her.
Yeah, I always liked her design, so she'd be cool. Taylor Wickham asks why Clone Wars senators kept buying clone troopers when they took so long to create.
Yeah, there were plenty of debates in the Clone Wars series about we need more clone troopers, and yeah, it does seem like if you're making an order for a new batch, and then, they take 10 years before they're ready for battle. Did the senators think the war was going to go that long? I think they were afraid that it would.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would dig into, is their fear.
I think so too. And maybe it was just, for security's sake. And, just in case, let's order more. And maybe just that they thought they were better fighters than droids and that would last longer.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all just comes down to Palpatine. The whole reason the Clone Wars happened in the first place is because he was stoking fear of the Separatists. And anytime they got close to making some kind of agreement, he would orchestrate the bombing of the Senate power generator, and then they'd be afraid again. So I think it was all about fear, and they're like, we don't know how long this war will go, so we might as well just order more clones. And it's like, yeah, we could be fighting for 10 more years. I think it just all came down to fear.
Mad Killer Miller wants to know if we'll see the ET species in Skeleton Crew.
So those are officially called Ahsogians, but we saw them in The Phantom Menace. There's also the fun detail that ET kind of recognizes the Yoda Halloween costume in ET. But because Skeleton Crew is kind of Amblin based or inspired, I do think it would be pretty fun just for a little cameo that they could come back.
I would love that. As a little cameo. I don't know that they would like make a big cameo character, one of those species, but it's possible. I mean, it's so recognizable, right? So like it might bring in more people to watch Skeleton Crew and be like, look, there's an ET here.
I think I would prefer they just keep it in the background. From the footage we saw at Celebration, there was like the Star Wars version of the suburbs. And I think we could see maybe they do a Star Wars version of Halloween, just like E.T. and we just see an Ahsogian walk by or something. I don't know.
That's my dream.
I doubt that's going to happen, but to just have one of the neighbors be an Ahsogian.
Yeah,
and
just have him walking out, getting his paper.
Getting his hollow paper, heads back inside.
Perfect.
And just like last week, we're going to close out this Q&A with one of the Star Wars conversation cards that were written by our friend Kelly Knox, and they're all out today, so you can pick them up for yourself. But in this question, Boba Fett hires Jabba the Hutt's remaining Gamorrean guards when he becomes Tatooine's new daimyo. Would you have done the same? Why or why not?
Oh. Would I, as Boba Fett or as me?
If you were the new daimyo.
Would I have hired
the same guards?
The same Oh,
when
because they like
EV-99 or 8D8 was trying to get Boba Fett to execute them.
Yeah.
So I guess you're gonna execute the guards, or are you gonna hire them?
I would hire them and give them another chance.
I think the show proved that that was the right move. They were very loyal.
Yeah. I think that's the key to like show a little compassion, and then they become more loyal and they're actually good at being guards.
I was upset when they got pushed off that cliff.
Yeah.
I liked those guards.
Yeah.
They did a lot of good work.
The people under those suits are doing the real hard work, though.
Yeah.
That's got to be hard to film in.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on all the social medias.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.